Ryan J.J. Godby, a son, a brother, an uncle, a friend, and so much more. An inspiration to the people who knew him, chasing his dreams and being true to himself.
His smile and his laugh would steal your heart. He was nice to everybody, no matter who you were, where you were from.
He had just started gaining a following as a drag queen. Then, before a drag performance his friends knew he wouldn't miss, Ryan disappeared, setting off searches across Northeast Ohio.
I called his mom and his grandma and told them there's something wrong. You need to go over there, like right now.
An ex-boyfriend under the microscope, and a search for the mysterious man Ryan went out with the night before he disappeared. Then later, an unthinkable discovery.
This was a gruesome crime, hard for a grieving mother to handle.
A suspect with a violent past given so many chances.
You know my past, you see my record.
Well, that's the thing, is we're having computer issues right now, so I can't even see what I would normally see. I think that's going to be your saving grace tonight.
A man behind bars who would never wind up before a jury. Video evidence, police say, pointed to his guilt. 1 year later, why this isn't case closed for Ryan's family or police.
He had already taken my child. He didn't allow my son to have closure, a proper burial. He didn't give Ryan's family or friends a chance to say, I love you until we meet again. I remind myself that there's a greater court, that no matter what you do, you can't escape.
I'm Sarah Goldenberg. You're listening to Dark Side of the Land. He was 26 years old, chasing a dream and living out loud. Ryan J.J. Godby didn't disappear. He was taken. And the man accused of killing him recorded the brutal murder on his phone. Ryan was last seen on June 19, 2025 at a club in Canton, Ohio. He was loved by so many when his life was cut short. Sadly, this missing persons case soon turned into a murder investigation with so many twists and turns along the way. And just as everyone from Ryan's family to prosecutors and police thought they were finally getting more answers, a shocking event turned the case upside down. I'll take you inside the investigation and the search for the truth with the people who knew him the best, and tell you why this isn't over for Ryan's family or police, despite unimaginable challenges. A warning, this podcast episode features some graphic details that may be disturbing. Jackie Godby never gave up searching for her son Ryan. Her face became familiar to so many people as she pleaded for information about his disappearance in news story after news story. I first met Jackie months after all of the chaos first broke out. She was in her element, caring for the animals she loves at the Stark County Humane Society.
Ryan has 2 short hair, 1 black hair, 1 cat.
Jackie is the executive director here, and this place is really a second home to her. Ryan spent a lot of his time here growing up, surrounded by animals. His cats were from here too. I spoke with Jackie in her office in a space she's brightened with a panel of sunflowers in a field hanging on the wall, and 2 white shaggy chairs with a photo album honoring Ryan's life. She wore yellow, her son's favorite color.
Tell me about Ryan growing up as a child.
He was funny, outgoing. He loved to try new stuff. He was a swimmer. He loved the band. He loved school. He just loved making friends and being a part, being in the community. His smile and his laugh would steal your heart. He was nice to everybody, no matter who you were, where you were from. He treated you the way you treated him, and like he would tell everybody, it didn't matter, as long as you don't call me it, we can always be friends.
Yeah. What were his hopes and his dreams?
Well, at first he wanted to be an elementary school teacher, and he did his first year in college at CSU there. But after that, walking down to the drag shows by the bakery from RuPaul, he decided he wanted to become a drag queen. And so he came back home, and that was his focus. He spent hours working on his makeup, doing the routines, trying to figure out outfits and just different stuff. That was, after a year going to college, wasn't for him, and he wanted to be a drag queen. Ryan J.J. Godby That was his dream, is to become the next RuPaul's superstar.
Ryan's mom told me he didn't care what pronouns people used when referring to him as long as they didn't call him it. Over time, Ryan became well known in Canton's LGBTQ community. He performed as JJ, a drag persona he worked hard to build.
And that's something that made him happy, and you were supportive, friends were supportive.
Oh yeah, we actually attended drag shows together. We went to Cleveland the year before and met the superstars from RuPaul, and we had met Roxy the Doll Andrews in person in Akron a few times. So yeah, I was very supportive because there's a lot worse things people could do or want to be. You know, he wanted to be a drag queen. He was true to himself. He did the best he could, hours and hours of makeup, and it was beautiful. He'd do my makeup for me, and it was like a day at the spa, but we're at home.
Something that takes a lot of work, as you just said, hours and practice. Can you talk about that passion and showing that side of himself?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, because he didn't go to school for it. There's no, drags, you don't go to school for that. You learn, you watch it on TV, you watch the other drag queens that have made it and are making it and their tips and tricks and go from there. And he would spend hours and trying. And, of course there was frustration because this eyebrow or that eyebrow or, stuff like that. But he continued to practice and, was going to make it. I know he would have made it. I know.
When he was in those moments, what were you seeing as, him as a person, as he was growing up, as he was living out, what he wanted to do?
I seen a person that was true to himself, that didn't care what people thought of him, that it was his life and he was going to do what made him happy. And if you didn't like it, just don't look. If you didn't like what he posted, just keep scrolling. And that's how it was. And that's how we should all be, is Ryan was true to himself. He was active in the LGBTQ community. He was happy, living his best life when all this happened. And it was taken before he got a fair chance.
Ryan's dreams for his future stolen. Jackie told me she and her mother, Ryan's grandmother, were all very close to him. He also has a sister and was very close to his friends.
I have to say that Ryan's friends were his biggest fans, and they supported him on good days, bad days. They were there for Ryan, and they all loved Ryan, and Ryan loved them. We only dream of friends like them.
I spoke with one of Ryan's best friends since 8th grade, Jordan Smith, who now lives in West Virginia.
It's kind of funny because I talk too much, and so the choir director was like, "I'll see you by the quiet kid," and that didn't stop me from talking to him either. And so basically, once that started, it ignited our friendship, and we were inseparable ever since. And we talked every day on the phone. I was always at his house. We were always like bonfires and that kind of thing. We did band together, swimming together. We did lots of practicing together before the practices or before meets. We were always together. Basically, like, he was a big part of like my beginning of like becoming a teenager, and then like all throughout high school and then all throughout college. He was always there for me and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He really was like an awesome person. He really was there for me for stuff that I probably wouldn't even tell my parents. Like, he really was my rock the entire time.
I just had to act like a Gemini so it knew.
Can you talk about what kind of person Ryan was, at school with his friends, what he was like?
Ryan was very outgoing. Ryan spoke his mind no matter who was around, he never cared about anyone else's opinion. That's pretty much why I was drawn to him, because he was very authentically himself. And he really carried himself, stayed 10 toes on everything he said, whatever he did. He was always about being true to yourself. If you say something, you mean it. You don't say something if you don't mean it. He was really true to his word, and I really appreciated that about him.
Jordan moved away for college, but he and Ryan stayed close even after he graduated, FaceTiming every night.
And at that time of his life, what were, Ryan's hopes and dreams?
Ryan's hopes and dreams was to be a drag queen. Ryan really loved the nightlife. Ryan really wanted to show that he was himself, but also different. Like, he wanted to prove to people that he could do it.
Ryan was always talking to his friends, so when they didn't see or hear from him for a few days last June, Jordan got worried. The last text Jordan got from Ryan, he talked about his ex-boyfriend, Ryan Mattay, the 33-year-old who lived with him on and off.
He sent me a text message basically saying that Danny's mad because Danny had a temper and he would like talk about certain things. And so once I received that text message, I instantly was like, yeah, like maybe he's just mad. Like a lot of people get mad over the silliest things or whatever.
A day or two passed and Jordan hadn't heard back from Ryan.
Ryan did suffer from a lot of mental illness. So I kind of took it in the beginning as like he was trying to figure something out or just be by himself, because there was times where he wanted to just be by himself because he didn't know how to deal with what was going on in his own head, to where I fully understand that.
Then by day 4 or 5, when Jordan still hadn't heard from him and Ryan didn't show up dressed as JJ for a drag show he was scheduled to perform in, alarm bells went off.
And I'm like, that is not like him. If this is really what he would want to do, he would not miss the opportunity to do that. So I called his mom and his grandma and told them there's something wrong. You need to go over there like right now.
That set off what would become an urgent search for Ryan.
I got a text from Ryan's best friend, Jordan, that says something's going on. I haven't heard from Ryan. Cops, call the cops. And I had no idea. I hadn't talked to Ryan. And I said, I'll call Grandma. We'll get over there. And we went. Ryan was not at the apartment. It seemed a little messy. You could tell something. So we made the missing person. And obviously that's all they could do at that time. It was on Sunday. And I had called the landlord there. And she went in and talked to the neighbors that Monday. And that's when they noticed more of a scuffle inside and had seen some of the blood. And I went at that time and brought Ryan's cats to my house.
Signs of a struggle and blood in Ryan's apartment. But that wasn't the only warning sign something was terribly wrong. Ryan's family reported him missing to Canton police on June 22nd, 2025, and investigators started tracking his last movements. They talked to family, friends, and neighbors and learned Ryan was last seen on June 19th at Darlin's Crew, an LGBTQ plus bar in downtown Canton. After searching Ryan's apartment, police found blood stains all over the kitchen and living room and a glass table flipped over. And officers talked to a neighbor who told them she and her husband heard a loud argument that night with someone yelling, "He's choking me." But she did not call police. We didn't learn this part until months later. Just heartbreaking for those who knew and loved
His
Ryan.
neighbors heard him screaming, "He's choking me, he's choking me." And the lady's husband told her not to call 911. So, love your neighbor. Yeah, pick up that phone. Yep, you can do it anonymously. You can submit tips on through anonymous. Yeah, Ryan was screaming for help, but the neighbors heard him and did nothing.
The easiest thing to do would be pick up the phone and be like, hey, someone is screaming for help. I need you to come over here and look to see what's wrong with them. Like, the fact that they didn't even take the initiative to even call someone to be like, hey, you need to check what's going on in our apartment building. I understand that like people don't want to be nosy, because I understand a lot of the time, like once you involve yourself, you get into it, or like you're a part of their situation, or like if they find out who did it, then you feel like your life is threatened or whatnot. But it's also like, if someone else is being threatened and they have no idea who you are, why does it matter who's making the phone call?
On June 24th, 2 days after he was reported missing, Canton police released limited information to the public asking for help to find Ryan. They called his case urgent in a media release, but didn't reveal what they found in his apartment. Over the next few days, police, family and friends, and community members searched the woods, lakes, and streams in the area. Meanwhile, a huge outpouring of support grew on social media. A Facebook group called Bring Ryan Home went from hundreds of members to several thousand, all supporting the search for Ryan. Friends and strangers all pulled together, hoping to find him.
It is amazing to see and know that there actually are good people out there, and for as much hate as in the world, there's double the love.
But days passed without answers, and the search to find Ryan became even more urgent to those who knew him. because Ryan was epileptic and all of his daily medication was left at the apartment. His mom said he would never just leave without it.
And I explained to them that, Ryan couldn't just do that because he took 3 different pills a day for epilepsy. He took those, and he was also bipolar. And all those medicines were still in his medicine cabinet. I don't know any epileptic person that goes on vacation or away for a weekend without your medicine, because as soon as you stop taking that, that's going to trigger your seizures. And they were still in the medicine cabinet. I still have them. I can't bear myself to get rid of them.
Can you take us back to searching? You had so much support from the community, your workplace, can you just talk about what that felt like to have people care and really trying to surround you in this time?
It's probably what fueled my fire, because even though I searched a lot alone, I was never alone. We were calling each other, we were sharing phone numbers, we were sharing locations. I've met so many wonderful people through this hellacious nightmare that I thank God for some of them, and the people that, even just out walking their dogs, or, we're going here, we're still going to look, and, checking and saying, has this place been searched? Has that place been searched? We did make the mistake of, when we first started searching, we tried to share it online so everybody, and we found out that was a bad idea. And we tried to make the group smaller then, but I do want to thank everybody in the community for all their love, all their support, searching, just everybody that was there for myself, my daughter, my mom, the memory of Ryan, and just helping, because when you're out searching, you don't know what you're going to find. And like I told them, if they would send a picture of something that I knew Ryan didn't wear, I'd still ask them to forward it to the police department, because it could help somebody else's family. So that is what we tried to do, is, in different woods or areas that we were searching, if we found stuff to be odd or, different, to please still forward that in case that could help somebody else.
Then another red flag came in during their search for Ryan.
I was holding out hope that Ryan was still alive and something happened. During this, after we made the police report of Ryan missing that Sunday, the State Highway Patrol showed up at my house with Ryan's bank card and driver's license. One of the gentlemen that was helping sweep 77 South in front of our Football Hall of Fame had found them and didn't, decided he was, bringing them home. And I was like, he didn't realize Ryan was a missing person. So he immediately took them over to Canton Police Department. And so a huge thank you to, the gentleman walking in front of the street sweeper and the State Highway Patrol for not just saying, trash, we're going to throw it away, because that gave us an idea of, okay, something is wrong. They weren't in Ryan's wallet, but they had been thrown out on the highway.
A chilling find for Ryan's family. As they continued to search for him, Canton police retraced his movements on the last day he was seen, Thursday, June 19th. They checked their real-time crime center with city cameras and license plate readers. That night, around 9 p.m., police got a hit on Ryan's Jeep at 15th Street Northwest and Market Ave North in Canton, near where he lives. We later got copies of the surveillance video. Police believe Ryan was alone when he headed to Darlin's Crew nightclub on Cherry Ave Northeast, the last place Ryan was seen. The club's surveillance footage shows him walking in with a man they couldn't identify. Ryan wore a red t-shirt, dark pants, and white sneakers, his long hair in a ponytail. The man he was with wore a tan hoodie and shorts. They ordered drinks and chatted with the bartender, then headed out to the patio. They eventually went back inside to the bar. You can see them on another camera angle talking. Just before midnight, they leave together in Ryan's Jeep and stop at a convenience store. Ryan's Jeep was last picked up by the license plate reader just after midnight. It was near his apartment, but police believed he was alone. There were so many questions at this point. Who was the man Ryan was with that night? And where was Ryan's ex-boyfriend, Ryan Mattay, on June 19th? And could he have something to do with Ryan's disappearance? Here's a breakdown of that timeline. Police checked license plate readers and surveillance cameras and found Mattay near Ryan's apartment several times that night. They knew Mattay drove a Toyota Sienna vehicle after getting surveillance footage from his workplace. And the license plate reader showed Mattay's van near Ryan's apartment around 9 p.m., then 11 p.m. and midnight. But then he disappeared from any surveillance until June 21st. That's when police got a hit on his van again near Ryan's apartment around noon. Detectives finally got the chance to talk to Daniel Mattay when he came in for an interview on June 23rd. They noted in their report it looked like he had recent injuries to the knuckles on his right hand. Police learned Mattay and Ryan were in a romantic relationship. He said they drifted apart, but they still got along pretty well. Mattay told detectives the last time he saw Ryan was Thursday, June 19th, around 10 p.m. at his apartment, and he said he was meeting someone that night. But that couldn't be right, because you may remember video surveillance showed Ryan was at the bar at that time with another man. Mattay then told police he thought Ryan was in Cleveland. He showed them the last text message he said he got from Ryan between midnight on Thursday and 1 a.m. Friday that read, "If I'm not back in 20 minutes, something went wrong." Mattay told detectives he drove to Ryan's house on Friday. He said he didn't see Ryan's car and he didn't go inside. Mattay told detectives he worked the afternoon shift as a maintenance mechanic at the Heinz Company in Massillon from 1:30 to 11:30. We got a hold of surveillance video police tracked down of him clocking into work, but the day here is unclear. According to the police report, Mattay said he was going to ask his probation officer how to file a missing persons report, but when he realized he wasn't going to see the officer that week, he didn't do anything. When detectives asked him if they could search his cell phone, Mattay cut the interview short. They seized his phone while they waited for a search warrant. After Mattay left, detectives bagged a cup he drank water from and saved it as evidence. Detectives soon caught Mattay in another lie. He told them he didn't drive, but his van was spotted on crime center cameras driving to an abandoned house where he met up with his girlfriend. They'd been squatting at that home on Walnut Ave Northeast, which was just a 2-minute drive from Ryan's place. Police checked it out the next day. On June 24th, they found Mattay sitting in the driver's seat of his van parked behind the house with his girlfriend, Amanda K. Williams. Police cuffed the pair, arresting Mattay and Williams for aggravated possession of drugs and criminal trespassing. Meanwhile, detectives looked around the outside of the house and found some disturbing evidence in a trash can a few feet away from the van. They saw clothing stuffed in trash bags, 2 empty bleach bottles, and 2 latex gloves. They got a search warrant and started processing the scene. Mattay's van was a mess, loaded with trash, laundry baskets of clothing, backpacks, and hand tools. It had no carpet or seats in the back. Detectives also found a cell phone and a wallet, a pocket knife and a black knife, along with a red t-shirt and a black t-shirt, both with stains on them. Investigators swabbed several spots for DNA inside the van and in the house, which was also filled with trash. Detectives noted it looked like homeless people were squatting inside. They collected a stained pillow, a cell phone, and a plastic baggie with what looked like white drugs inside and sent it off to the lab for testing. Later that day, the search warrant for Mattay's phone finally came through and police started going through it, finding text messages between Mattay and his girlfriend talking about needing bleach. Next, detectives interviewed Mattay and Williams. Mattay said he did drugs and was self-medicating with meth. Detectives asked him about the bleach, and he told them it was to clean up sewage in the home where they were squatting. Mattay said his blood wouldn't be on the scene, and he didn't hurt Ryan. A few days later, on June 27th, someone called a tip into police, leading them to that mysterious man with Ryan, where he was last seen at the bar. Detectives later interviewed him, but their attention shifted back to someone else. At this point, it looks like detectives are honing in on Daniel Mattay. Can they prove he had something to do with Ryan's disappearance? They're about to find explosive evidence that takes this case in a whole new direction. I'm Sarah Goldenberg. This is Dark Side of the Land. On July 3rd, 2025, police got the evidence they needed. Mattay's Google files came back as a result of the search warrant. According to the prosecutor's case file, detectives found a 14-gigabyte video on Mattay's account. We don't have a copy of this video, just the officer's notes on it. It's dated June 20th at 1:30 a.m. And once police watched it, this missing persons case became a murder investigation. A warning, what we're about to tell you is very disturbing. Mattay holds his cell phone in Ryan's apartment. Ryan moves closer to Mattay and the phone falls to the ground. It's still recording as the struggle begins and Ryan starts screaming for help. Then an officer wrote someone can be heard being struck multiple times over several minutes. About 5 minutes later, police said they heard someone struggling to breathe. 12 minutes into the video, the lights get turned off in the apartment, and Mattay sits there for an hour and a half in silence. The phone continues to record. Mattay then picks up his phone and uses its light to look around the apartment. The video shows Ryan's body lying on his living room floor. Mattay then records himself walking into the bathroom, turning on the light and looking into the mirror, his face covered in blood. He fixes his hair and then flexes, and then the recording ends. Video evidence of the murder, according to police. It's hard to understand the cruelty and Ryan's last minutes crying out for help. That same day, police broke the devastating news to Ryan's family. Jackie had still been holding out hope they'd find Ryan alive.
When they called me, we had a search party going, 2 kayaks, 3 drones, and probably 10 people just searching.
Police told Jackie they believed her son had been murdered. In their request for a warrant, they said Mattay beat him and strangled him, causing his death.
And then I actually went into the hell of a parent knowing that my child was now a homicide and that he had been murdered.
Police rearrested Ryan's ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old Daniel Mattay, this time on charges of murder, felonious assault, strangulation, and domestic violence. After they read him his charges, Mattay replied and said, Ryan is dead. But with his attorney by his side, he wouldn't tell detectives where to find his body. So Ryan remained missing. Canton's police chief told news crews new evidence made it clear Ryan had died and Mattay was responsible. Keep in mind, we didn't know exactly what that evidence was at the time. Later that day, detectives went out to search for Ryan's body again and returned to find the Stark County Jail in lockdown because of their suspect. Mattay had tried to escape after meeting with his attorney in the visitation area, but he wasn't missing long. We got a short, redacted clip of body camera video from corrections officers as they tracked him down. You see an officer holding pepper spray toward the ceiling when suddenly Mattay's foot crashes through and his body falls as he clings to the rafters, his orange jumpsuit covered in dust. Corrections officers grab him and wrestle him to the ground, trying to restrain him. It takes several of them to get him under control. After this, Mattay faced 2 more charges for an attempted escape. He remained locked up in a jail right next to Jackie's work at the Humane Society, where day after day she faced constant reminders that her son's accused killer was so close to her, while Ryan was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It's been hard.
On July 7th, 4 days after police announced Mattay's arrest, he appeared before a judge by video as he was arraigned in Canton Municipal Court. He was dressed in an orange jumpsuit, his long hair down, hands cupped in front of him. Ryan's family and friends filled 2 rows in the courtroom. The judge set Mattay's bond at $1.5 million, and he remained behind bars at the Stark County Jail. Meanwhile, police continued to search for Ryan.
Not knowing what they did with him, the thoughts that you drive down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't checked here. I just want my son home.
Behind the scenes, investigators from state and federal agencies joined the search for Ryan's body, including the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation and the Cleveland FBI's resident agency in Canton. That week, agents with Ohio BCI searched Ryan's apartment and next a dumpster at a landfill. On July 10th, Canton detectives drove to East Sparta, about 10 miles south of the city, to check out a large roll-off dumpster that had been at Ryan's apartment complex. It was there before the murder and was scheduled to be dumped into the landfill. Investigators rifled through the dumpster and noticed a gray shag-style rug that looked like it was soaked with blood stains. A BCI agent tested it right on scene, confirming it was likely blood. When they picked up the rug, a black ankle-high Hanes sock fell out from it. It looked like the same style sock Ryan was wearing before the murder. They bagged up the evidence, but still found no signs of Ryan. That would change about 2 weeks later. On July 23rd, a big development in Ryan's case. Investigators believed they found his partial remains. That day, Canton police officers and FBI agents found human remains in the woods in a remote part of southern Stark County. They sent the evidence to a state lab for testing. As if that wasn't bad enough, Ryan's loved ones learned from investigators his body had been dismembered.
The developments came in that we were looking for remains of Ryan, as it was brought to their attention that Danny had dismembered my son and placed his body in multiple locations.
I have never cried so much in my life, to where, like, I understand bad stuff happens to people and you can't prevent it, but like stuff like that should not even be in my mental capacity to think about something happening to my best friend or even someone that I care about.
A devastating turn in Ryan's case. As police continued to search for more of her son's remains in Stark County, Jackie started planning Ryan's celebration of life. She wanted it to be special and reflect both Ryan and JJ, the name he used as a drag performer. On July 29th, family, friends, and coworkers came out to honor Ryan's life at the Canton Palace Theater. Yellow balloons lined a stage where a slideshow of photos played on a projector in the background. Framed photos of Ryan filled the room, along with candles, cupcakes, and snacks for guests. Tears filled the room, a mix of sadness and fond memories of his legacy. On the same day of that celebration, Jackie learned Daniel Mattay's girlfriend, Amanda K. Williams, had been released from jail. You may remember she was being held in jail on 2 charges, aggravated possession of drugs and criminal trespass, after she was arrested with Mattay. A grand jury chose not to indict Williams on that felony drug charge, and she was free to leave. She was not charged with anything related to Ryan's murder, but Daniel Mattay remained behind bars. About a month later, on August 27th, the case moved to the county. Daniel Mattay was indicted on charges including murder in Stark County Common Pleas Court. The other charges included felonious assault, strangulation, escape, domestic violence, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. For Jackie, it was hard to come to terms with the fact that someone who knew Ryan well was accused of his murder.
He murdered someone that called him his friend. Daniel Mattay was homeless. Daniel Mattay probably was living out of his van, and my son opened his apartment to him that he had just moved into to give him a place to lay his head, to eat, to shower, and he took his life. I mean, my son opened the door to him, and this is what he did. And then he couldn't even give the location, give up the information. It's just been constant. Like, I won't give Daniel Mattay another day of our lives. My thing is to celebrate the life of my son, the memory of my son, cherish who he was, what he enjoyed to do, and just try to raise awareness that if you got a big heart, sometimes you still have to have boundaries.
Did you know what their relationship was at the time when this happened? Like, did you know that he had, been living with him or anything like that?
Ryan had asked him to move out, but since Danny had helped pay through June, Ryan had gave him to the 1st of July. And Ryan was they were partners. And they, obviously, when you first meet somebody, we've all been there, it's all, happiness, and this is who, and reality checked in, and Ryan's like, this is not going to work, we don't. And I believe Danny was in relationships with other females at the time, and Ryan was out on a date with another man that night. And he was actually seen at the crew hours before he was murdered with a different individual. And then when Danny came to the apartment, I guess they began to argue, and that's where it spiraled from there, from what the police have told me of that night.
Mm. Do you know if there had ever been any domestic violence type issues or controlling issues or anything like that?
I think they argued, but I mean, I don't think it was ever to that extent, but I know the neighbors had said that they heard them arguing or yelling before. So I I can't say that. I mean, they had just started dating, you know. When I asked some of Ryan's friends, they were like, it was good, it was bad, it was, it was a relationship. And, they had gone over to other people's house as a couple, played Xbox, had food, drinks. They had went out to dinner together. So it was, to me, a typical relationship. I don't know why you would take the life of somebody else that gave you a place. And, knowing Ryan, if Danny said, I need a couple more days, I haven't found, he would have said, okay, but let's, get this going because we're obviously both seeing other people.
The last time Ryan's friend Jordan saw him, he was with Daniel Mattay. Jordan gave me some more insight into the relationship.
The last time, it's actually kind of sucks. The last time I fully saw him in person was on his birthday weekend. And the one thing that kind of trips me out in a way is that we were all hanging out together. The person that basically killed my best friend was there with us, and he was portraying a whole different side and was saying that he really loved my friend and all this other stuff. And then it made me feel like even the closest people to you or the people that you think you have trust in, they could basically make me feel like I can't trust a lot of people close to me because the people closest to you could do something horrific and you have no idea that that could ever happen to you.
What was Daniel like when you were around them, or what was their relationship like, when you saw them together?
Their relationship was, I would say, on and off. I would say a lot of relationships have their moments. Not every relationship is perfect. You have arguing and bickering, or you have moments where you're looking at the relationship are y'all okay? Do you need someone else to come in here? Do y'all need a break from each other? But I felt like there were signs for me to be maybe this isn't right, but that wasn't my call, to where I didn't want to step a boundary, because if someone else was pursuing someone else, that's not my call to be hey, there's something I'm looking at. But if they're not seeing it, they have to see it themselves, in a way, to where I knew whatever I told him, he would have to figure out himself. I couldn't be hey, Daniel seems a little aggressive, or Daniel seems to be a little hot-headed for some reason, because he was also hot-headed too. I understand people have tempers and their temper was a little bit higher than others, but my mind was are we okay with that being the same type of temper as each other? To where I did tell him, I was are you okay with the situation? Is everything fine? He's yeah, I don't think it's that bad. And I was okay, I was looking out for him, but then all of a sudden it made me realize that he was putting on a different persona than what he actually was.
Months passed by and summer turned into fall as Jackie waited to officially find out if the partial human remains found in the woods were Ryan's. Finally, on October 20th, DNA testing confirmed it. Our news crew spoke with Jackie and the mayor of Canton, William Shearer.
We had to confirm through BCI and the DNA testing that to make sure, but this process is not over, but we, the city of Canton, will be continuing to stand beside your family.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And people are saying, DNA doesn't take this long and everything, but it couldn't be done locally. And so when they explained it to me, this was a place where covers many areas. So it does take time.
Daniel Mattay had stayed silent all of this time behind bars, but that started to change in November.
Finally, the week before Thanksgiving, the Stark County prosecutors had reached out and said he's ready to make a plea deal, that he would give up locations of where he had placed Ryan's remains. So at that point, my daughter and I said, we'll take the plea. We just, would like to bring Ryan home. We'd like to give Ryan proper, closure and, not wonder when you're driving down the road, is that where he's at? Could he be here? We had spent nearly 6 months searching, not just us, but our family, our friends, the community, searching, just not knowing, are we going to find Ryan whole as a person? Are we going to find, we didn't know. We had different thoughts and different ideas. And so it was the week before Thanksgiving, the Stark County prosecutor met with myself and the victim advocates and said, yes, yes, we'll take the plea. And so I believe it was the week after Thanksgiving till maybe the first week into December, roughly around that time when he met with Canton Police Department and I believe some other agents and gave up some of the locations the best that he could remember. Because from what I hear, I haven't seen any of the reports or anything, that he was on a lot of illegal substances at the time that this happened.
Jackie said police started looking into locations where Mattay said they may find Ryan's remains, pinging phones and using other investigative methods. But it was challenging because these spots were in very rural areas. Then, just a few days after Thanksgiving, everything in the investigation came to an abrupt halt. And the ramifications of what happened next are still being felt today. I'm Sarah Goldenberg. This is Dark Side of the Land. A major setback in the case took everyone by surprise. On December 3rd, 2025, Daniel Mattay was found dead in his jail cell. He had died by suicide. Mattay was supposed to go to a plea hearing just a few days later. Jackie and her daughter had been working on victim statements. Will getting answers in her son's murder now be harder than ever?
It's been hell. It's like not knowing. And then when he finally does start to give you information so that you could have closure, he takes his own life. And a lot of people say that was the coward's way out. I just know that, I think I would be easier to face than God. But he still has to face for what he did. He had already taken my child. He didn't allow my son to have closure, a proper burial. He didn't give Ryan's family or friends a chance to say, I love you until we meet again. I mean, and I have to tell myself, the day in court, what would I have said? I knew in my head and, having to go through and make sure that I wouldn't have got kicked out of court. Just be honest with you. I remind myself that there's a greater court, that no matter what you do, you can't escape. And that God must have had more to say than I did, because that's who he had to face. Instead of facing me, my daughter, Ryan's family and friends, and all of the volunteers and everyone that has been so supportive of our family through this, he faced God now. He has to face the man upstairs. You can't just take your life and think that you're not going to pay the consequences of what you did. You do reap what you sow.
No justice in the courtroom. Jackie would never know exactly what happened to her son that night. We later learned Daniel Mattay was not on suicide watch at the time of his death, according to the Stark County Sheriff's Office. They told us jail guards performed cell checks 3 times per hour, which is normal protocol, leading up to when he was found dead. Stark County prosecuting attorney Kyle L. Stone said they were disappointed they wouldn't be able to pursue justice as they intended, but they were glad Mattay had provided verified locations where they could find Ryan's remains. Stone said he hoped this would help his family find closure. Jackie told me investigators did find possible remains of Ryan after searching those places in December. But months later, she's still waiting for DNA results to come back from the lab to confirm this. As winter gripped Northeast Ohio, snow covered the ground for weeks. And during those first months of 2026, there were no public signs of any new searches for Ryan Godbey's remains. For Ryan's family, especially Jackie, the case was far from over. Local police still had unanswered questions. But for prosecutors, the criminal case against Daniel Mattay was effectively closed now that he was dead. Then in March of 2026, our investigative team got a hold of Mattay's case file. And inside those documents, we found a disturbing pattern, one that had not been widely reported before. Court records from both Ohio and Nevada show Mattay had a documented history of domestic violence. And in more than one case, he had been accused of strangulation, the same method prosecutors later said was used in Ryan's killing. Advocates say studies show strangulation in domestic violence cases is one of the strongest predictors of future lethal violence. In Nevada, Mattay's criminal record went back to at least 2011. Las Vegas court records show that in January of that year, he faced 4 charges, including strangulation, assault, and 2 domestic violence-related battery charges. The strangulation count was the only felony, but it was later dismissed after Mattay pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. In the end, he was convicted on 1 battery charge. Records from Clark County also show Mattay faced other felony charges over the years. In some of those cases, he pleaded guilty to reduced charges. In others, charges were dismissed. Then, years later, Mattay's criminal history continued in Ohio. In the summer of 2023, he was arrested at least 4 times for violent incidents or making violent threats. He strangled his living girlfriend and mother of his 2 children and pointed the barrel of a hunting rifle in her face, police said. He was later arrested 2 more times for intimidating the woman. And in one of these cases, he led police on a chase, threw a portable radio at a police vehicle, physically fought with officers, and smashed a police vehicle's windshield. This all ended with 2 separate taser deployments, according to court records. Then, in a separate incident, Mattay punched a man in the face several times at a restaurant. Mattay pleaded guilty in all of these cases, and his sentencing ranged from 30 days in jail to 4 years in prison. But records show the most he served was 6 months. In an order granting Mattay early release, the judge said Mattay was less likely to reoffend and consequences other than prison would be adequate because, quote, a sanction other than a prison term would not demean the seriousness of the crime. The court believed the crime wasn't as bad or as harmful as other domestic violence cases. But if he violated even one of 35 of the court's terms, the judge warned Mattay could wind up back in prison. And in October 2024, he did just that. Mattay punched another man in the face and then threatened a police officer, saying he would rip his head off. But he didn't go to prison. Instead, Mattay was later ordered to serve 90 days at Sunrise Vista, a behavioral health facility, and get a mental health evaluation. According to Jackie, that's where Ryan met Daniel Mattay and Amanda Williams around January 2025. Ryan went to Sunrise Vista after what Jackie described as a nervous breakdown. So the connection between Ryan Godbey and Daniel Mattay, according to Jackie, began inside a treatment center, a place where Ryan had gone looking for help. And now, looking back through Mattay's criminal history, the case file raises a troubling question. How much warning was there before Ryan disappeared? Police body camera video from a traffic stop with Mattay also shed more light on his circumstances, just 6 days before Ryan went missing. On June 13, 2025, Jackson Township Police pulled Mattay over on the highway for a traffic violation at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, there's no light above your license plate that's working. So no big deal. You got your driver's license with you?
Mattay wore a camouflage hat and a t-shirt with tattoos lining his right arm. He told the officer he works in Massillon and was going home to Canton, about 15 minutes away.
Listen, my license is expired.
Your license is expired?
It's not expired, it's suspended.
It's suspended.
This is my car.
Okay.
I have proof of that. Can you work with me here? I mean,
I'm going to do the best I can with you, yeah. Is there anything in the car I need to know about?
no, I don't carry anything.
No firearms or anything like that? Okay, no kind of illegal drugs? No cocaine, heroin, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, nothing like that, right? Okay. As long as there's nothing like that in the car, I should be able to work with you as best I can. What's your suspension for?
Basically, I got in trouble, went to prison.
Okay.
Like, this is all I got. I work every day. I work at Kraft Heinz. This is my clock in the car.
Okay.
There's no way I can. You can't do this stuff on foot. I know I'm not. So anyway.
Is the van in your name or is it in somebody else's name?
It's in my name.
It's shown as somebody else's name, but.
You can put your flashlight back there.
No, you're good.
The officer looks through his paperwork and asks him a few more questions.
All right, yeah, let me run your information real quick. Let me see what type of suspension you're for. Depending on what type it is, I should be able to work with you a little bit, hopefully. It's not like for an OVI or anything like that, is it?
No.
Okay. All right, yeah, let me see what I can do for you. Can we search your vehicle just to make sure there's nothing in here?
I don't see the point of that.
I'm just asking. It's up to you. It's a yes or no.
No.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, just hang tight. Give me a few minutes. Let me run your information. I'll be right back with you, okay?
That's when the traffic stop for a minor infringement appears to escalate.
Just hang out right in front of my cruiser for me. Do you have anybody valid that can come pick up the car?
I think so.
Okay. You got your phone? Can you start making phone calls for that? While you're doing that, I have a narcotics trained canine, okay? I have a narcotics trained canine, all right? I'm gonna run him around your vehicle real quick. If he doesn't alert, I'll let you have somebody come drive it. If he does, then we'll have to look into some things some more, okay? Is there any reason why he would alert on your vehicle?
Mattay tells him he doesn't do drugs, but there might be some weed in there. The officer says he's not looking for marijuana and comes back with his canine. He takes the canine around Mattay's silver Toyota Sienna minivan 3 times as traffic whizzes by, but the canine doesn't appear to find anything. The officer walks back to Mattay, who's wearing a black t-shirt with the state of Texas on it. It reads, "Waco, we ain't coming out."
This is where I was headed. That's home.
Mattay says he has to be back at work tomorrow, working second shift.
So
You know my past. You see my record.
Well, that's the thing, is we're having computer issues right now, so I can't even see what I would normally see. I think that's going to be your saving grace tonight. I can't even look at your record to see what kind of suspension you're under. I have to go off of what dispatch says saying, and it's sketchy, so I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm going to cut you a major break tonight. I'm going to let you drive out of here. If I see you driving again before you get a valid license, I'm going to tow your I'm going to cite you. I'm going to do everything I can. Understood?
Totally.
This is your one chance you get with me.
Yes.
All right, ma'am? All right, ma'am.
This was just a small traffic stop, but the timing of Daniel Mattay interacting with police is what's so important here. We know after this, he ignored the officer's warning and continued to drive that van. The same van where police searched for evidence in Ryan's disappearance and murder. Now, as Jackie mourns the loss of her son 1 year later, she still has so many questions, including one thing that really puzzles her.
How a few months into this, we found a makeup box where we had already searched that looks just like Ryan's. And it had half of a fake eyelash and a piece of tape. If you know a drag queen, they'd use some tape. And especially if they're doing different eyeshadows and stuff to tape off. And we didn't find that until August. And we had already searched this location, I would say probably 30 or 40 times, not just myself, my family and friends that I knew, but other volunteers, other community members. So how did this makeup box just now appear?
Here's a photo of that makeup box they found. Jackie said it wasn't dirty or weathered.
Where did it come from? Who put it there? You know, Camp Police did come and retrieve it because, like I told them, that's just like, you know, there's no name on it, but I'm going to tell you, this is my son's, and when you open it, you have the Fosse and the tape.
Wow.
And Ryan would get frustrated and just set it down. That didn't work, or that doesn't look the same. And yeah, and that wasn't until August that we found that there off of Ryan's driver's license and bank card was found at 77 South at the Football Hall of Fame exit. The makeup, we'll call it a kit or box, was found at the park probably 3 minutes away, like right on the other side of 77 North in the park right there. So it's just been, how did it get there? Daniel Mattay was in the Stark County Jail.
Yep. Does it make you wonder if someone feels guilty or felt the need to, well, I have this, so I'm going to get rid of it?
Yeah. Yeah, because if he removed it from the apartment, who did he give it to? Maybe they know something. Maybe they know something that Danny did not share prior to taking his life. And I pray that, you know, God will have the truth come out, and, you know, things that happen in the dark will come out in the light.
Jackie says it's possible someone played a sick joke on her with the makeup box. But then early in 2026, she got something alarming in the mail.
There was a box mailed to my home addressed to me, from me, that had different scripture in it. Kind of, I needed to clean my home before the end. I needed to have my home in order before the end of days. And I tracked that down to a local post office and, you know, to 1 o'clock on a day, but they unfortunately did not have cameras. So I have turned that over for them to look at because, you know, whether that's involved or not involved, I would still like to know who is mailing me stuff telling me that my home should be in order as my days are numbered.
That sounds like a threat.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know if it's based on my son being part of the LGBTQ, but that's not going to stop me. I love my child. I'm going to support him. I am going to advocate for him, and that's who and what I am. I've spent my life advocating for animals, for people, and I'm going to continue to do so and make sure that Ryan's name is heard, and that who he was and who he is going to continue, because he may not be here today with me sitting beside me, but he's still in my heart. He's still part of my soul.
I asked Jackie how she keeps going and what the future holds.
The love for my daughter, my granddaughter, and my son just keep me going, because I just want them to know that they are my pride and joy, and that having them in my life has made my life.
You just lean on, the friends and the family that you have left right now.
Yeah, yep. That's, I talk to my daughter, my mother every day, and I have a group of friends that we text back and forth, and they check on me and make sure I'm doing okay, and have been very supportive of, my lifelong career and my love for my son. And I took the reward money from the bank, and I started a foundation with Stark Community Foundation for Ryan, and it's called the Ryan J.J. Godby Memorial Fund at Stark Community Foundation. And his mission is to help other communities and awareness and support those. And whether it's going to be swim lessons or, a pride event, whatever, and it will grow, and that way his love will continue past me, but then with my daughter and my granddaughter, and my granddaughter will know who Uncle Rai was.
How old is your granddaughter?
She's 11.
So that must have, she's young, going through that.
Yeah, and so that way, even then her kids will know, because they're all going to be accepting and loving of everybody. That's just who and what we are. Our doors were always open. If Ryan's friends or Paige's friends, our doors were always open. And they'll always be. I've always told his friends, to this day, the door's always open.
But that's what he's stolen from you, is all of the memories you should be having, would be having,
Yeah, and the LGBT community have been very supportive. A number of the other drag queens have reached out and stayed in contact with myself and my mom. One young lady lives in Pennsylvania, and she calls my mom every day and checks on my mom. And, a couple of the girls up here, are going to continue to work and do, shows in his honor and memorize him.
How has your work with animals and your love for animals, how has that helped you through this process?
A lot. Ryan was probably 2 or 3 days old when he made his first trip to the Stark County Humane Society. We had just got released from Mercy Medical Center, and I wanted to come pick up work. And I remember carrying my newborn baby into the front office. It was on a Wednesday, and we were closed. Actually, it was Monday, Memorial Day. And so I was like, hear that noise? And I was like, we gotta get used to it. And for 32 years, this is the animals of Stark County and other counties have always given me a meaning. And I raised my children with this. And I think that's why we are who we are. We see that it doesn't matter what breed a dog is or what color a cat is. Love is love. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And who are we to judge?
While Jackie won't have any new memories to make with her son, she does have this photo album to look back on the good times, a show of love from the people who loved Ryan J.J. Godby.
So Ryan's friends gave me this, Ryan's celebration of life with that we had in July. Mm-hmm. They made this for me, and they did like all the pictures and sayings. And this is Paige and his sister, and when his niece was first born, Paige's little girl, my mom and Rai. The three of us, that was Paige's prom. And when Ryan was in the band with her, and some of Ryan's drag shows. And some of the girls They all wrote and typed stuff for us.
Ryan graduated from Massillon Washington High School in 2017. Photos of him are full of memories from musicals and band.
And some of the pictures from when he was in the pit for the Fiddler on the Roof. He did, the trumpet. And different band pictures. He loved school. Him and Jordan both. I think they were going to have to move in.
He loved swimming.
That's my favorite all-time swimming, the Michael Phelps imitation here.
Ryan even saved someone's life as a senior in high school when he worked as a lifeguard at the Massillon Rec Center.
Him and another young man, I think it was Tony or Troy, were on duty, and an elderly gentleman had fallen in the locker room and ended up having a heart attack. So they had to do CPR and revive him, and he was honored by our mayor.
I asked Ryan's friend Jordan what he wants everyone to remember about his friend.
Basically, from now on, I just want to keep his name alive. I want everyone to realize that Ryan was a spotlight. Ryan was truly meant for the stage, everything that he basically deserved. I still choke up on Snapchat. They have Snapchat memories. Every memory that pops up every day is with me and him from like our past relationship, like our friendship, us going to band practice together, us at bonfires, us drunk at bonfires at his grandma's house, like us just doing the craziest thing, but it was the best time of my life. And I'm so sad that like it's over, but I'll cherish the memories for the rest of my life.
What do you think his, legacy is?
Always be you. Always be you, no matter who's watching.
Yeah, because he lived that. He lived what he believed.
I just want people to know that Ryan was truly like an amazing person. I want them to know, even outside of his mental illness, that Ryan was truly trying to be a better person. Even though like the situation that happened, he truly was moving forward and becoming a better person.
Mattay would still be locked up in prison until 2028, had a judge ordered him to serve his full prison term. Jackie wonders if Mattay had served this full sentence, or had he been sent back to prison when he violated the conditions of his early release, would Ryan still be here now? As she wrestles with those questions, Jackie tries to stay positive. She lives by the words, love doesn't die.
What do you think his legacy is?
To be you. To be who you are. To be true to you, because we all have one life to live. And if you walk through this life doing it to make other people happy, you are going to be miserable. Don't be afraid to be who you are and be authentic to yourself and to accept people for who they are. Don't be so harsh to judge. Like you see stuff in the arguments on Facebook. If you don't like what somebody posts, just keep scrolling. You don't have to have a combative argument. You're not going to win anything. There's an old saying, and I always told my son this, you can get into a pissing match with a skunk and you're both going to come out stinking. And that's exactly it. Ryan J.J. Godby, I'm going to continue to advocate for him in all communities because he was a swimmer. He was a member of the swing band. He was a lifeguard. He was part of the LGBTQ community, but he'd go to 80 shows with me too. So, we just loved each other. He would go with his friends and support them, whether they were straight or they weren't. He loved a person for who they were and how they treated other people.
I asked Canton Police for an interview on this case, but they declined. I later reached out to the police department again with a number of questions, including whether this case is still considered open until they find more of Ryan's remains, and if they're still searching, but I did not hear back from them. I also reached out to Amanda K. Williams, Mattay's girlfriend, who was questioned in the beginning of this case. Her phone numbers went to the wrong number, and I did not hear back from one of her recent attorneys. She never faced any charges related to Ryan's murder. This case is not over and will continue to follow what happens next. Meanwhile, Ryan J.J. Godby's family and friends will continue to mourn an unimaginable loss. I'm Sarah Goldenberg. Thanks for listening to Dark Side of the Land.
Subscribe now for future episodes and find more Dark Side of the Land and photo galleries related to these cases at cleveland19.com.